He wore a black parade dress service cap and a long greatcoat with a large slit up the back. He looked worried. Studzinski marched rapidly up to him, halted and saluted. Malyshev asked him, "Have they all got uniforms?" "Yes, sir." "All orders carried out." "Well, what are they like?" "They'll fight. But they're completely inexperienced. For 120 cadets there are 80 students who have never handled a rifle." A shadow crossed Malyshev's face, but he said nothing. "Thank God, though, we've managed to get some good officers," Studzinski went on, "especially that new one, Myshlaevsky." "We'll make out somehow." "I see. Thank you, Captain." "Now, as soon as I have inspected the battery, I want you to send them home with orders to report back here in time to be on parade at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, except for the officers and a guard detachment of 60 of the best and most experienced cadets, who will mount guard over the guns, the armory and the buildings." Paralyzed with amazement, Studzinski glared at the colonel in the most insubordinate fashion. His mouth dropped open. "But sir," in his excitement Studzinski's Polish accent became more pronounced. "If you'll allow me to say so, sir, that's impossible." "The only way of keeping this battery in any state of military efficiency is to keep the men here overnight." Instantly the colonel demonstrated an unsuspected capacity for losing his temper on the grandest scale. His neck and cheeks turned a deep red and his eyes flashed. "Captain," he said in a furious voice, "if you talk to me like that again I will have an official notice published that you no longer rank as a staff captain but as an instructor who regards it as his job to lecture senior officers. This will be most unfortunate, because I thought that in you I had an experienced executive officer and not a civilian professor." "Kindly understand that I am in no need of lectures, and when I want your advice I shall ask for it. Otherwise it is your duty to listen, to take note, and then to carry out what I say." The two men stared at each other. Studzinski's face and neck turned the color of a hot samovar and his lips trembled. In a grating voice he forced himself to say, "Very good, Colonel. Now do what you're told. Send them home. Tell them to get a good night's sleep, send them home unarmed, with orders to report back here by 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. Send them home, and what's more, make sure they go in small parties, not whole troops at a time, and without their shoulder straps, so that they don't attract any unwelcome attention from undesirable elements. A ray of comprehension passed across Studzinski's expression and his resentment subsided. Very good, sir. The colonel's tone altered completely. My dear Studzinski, you and I have known each other for some time, and I know perfectly well that you are a most experienced regimental officer. And I'm sure you know me well enough not to be offended. In any case, taking offense is a luxury we can hardly afford at the moment. I apologize for showing you the rough side of my tongue. Please forget it. I think you rather forgot yourself, too. Studzinski blushed again. Quite right, sir. I'm sorry. Well, that's in order. Let's not waste time, otherwise it will be bad for their morale. Everything depends on what happens tomorrow, because by then the situation will be somewhat clearer. However, I may as well tell you now that there's not much prospect of using the mortars. There are no horses to pull them and no ammunition to fire. So as of tomorrow morning it's to be rifle and shooting practice and more shooting practice. By noon tomorrow I want this battery to be able to shoot like a guards regiment. And issue hand grenades to all the more experienced cadets. Understood? Studzinski looked grim as he listened tensely. May I ask a question, sir? I know what you're going to ask, and you needn't bother. I'll tell you the answer straight away. It's sickening. It could be worse, but not much. Get me? Yes, sir. Right then. Malyshev raised his voice. So you see, I don't want them to spend the night in this great stone rat trap, at an uncertain time like this, when there's a good chance that by doing so I would be signing the death warrant of 200 boys, 80 of whom can't even shoot. Studzinski said nothing. So that's it. I'll tell you the rest later on this evening.